Back to the book. Except for the road we had opened, Hagaruri was under siege, surrounded by many thousands of Chinese soldiers. They had been held off by a battalion of the 1st Marines and hundreds of rear echelon people who had reverted to riflemen. For 3 days and nights, the cooks and bakers, truck drivers and artillerymen, office pinkies and technicians dug in alongside infantry Marines. They threw back every thrust the Chinese made against the Hagaruri perimeter. American soldiers were there too, Army technical support people who picked up rifles and bars and went up the hills and filled in the Marine lines. Wherever there were gaps, the artillery threw in massive bombardments. During daylight hours, the Corsairs flew in low with bombs, rockets, and napalm to help hold the attackers at bay. The 3 divisions of Chinese who tried to isolate the 5th and 7th Marines, plus those who had been at Fox Hill, followed us south. And now they added their numbers to the encirclement of Hagaruri. The single road, the MSR to Koto-ri, and our only way out was cut off. The hills that flanked that road were high and steep, and there were as many Chinese embedded in them as there had been at Udamni, so they're still completely surrounded. But all this stuff is happening, they're still surrounded. The engineers, with their heavy earth-moving equipment, had dynamited the frozen ground and leveled an airfield large enough for cargo planes to fly in and out of Hagaruri. Air Force pilots flew in the big, clumsy planes loaded with replacements, rations, and ammunition. For the return trip, they filled the planes with the most seriously wounded. When they landed and took off, they had to fly low between the hills that lined the valley. The planes became slow-moving targets for the Chinese guns in the hills, and everyone that left Hagaruri was perforated with bullet holes. The men on the ground marveled at the courage of the Air Force pilots who kept flying in and out of there. So you got just cargo pilots flying into this place. Insanity.